I've been carrying a secret for most of my life, when I've tried to bury deep down, but the weight of it has become absolutely crushing. My guilt is a physical thing now, pressing down on my chest every time my daughter, who's 14, asks about her older brother. It's getting harder and harder to give her an answer that isn't a total, gut-wrenching lie. Our son, Jack, was born when I was 25. He was this truly bright, kind, and thoughtful boy. Never a hint of trouble. He was the kid you just knew was destined for greatness. But life got messy, and my wife and we made choices. Choices that now feel monumentally selfish, maybe even cruel. When Jack was just 7, we sent him away. We told ourselves it was temporary, that he'd live with relatives for a couple of years for his own good, for experiences we couldn't provide. At first, we kept up the act, the occasional call, a rare visit, a performance of why this was necessary. But the excuses got easier. The calls got fewer. The visits stopped. By the time he was 10, we decided he needed structure. And just like that, we packed him off to a boarding school. We barely spoke after that. He wrote letters, long ones, short ones, pleading ones, begging to come home. I remember one call perfectly. His voice was just a raw crack. "Please, I just want to come home. Why are you doing this to me? Why won't you let me come home?" My wife and I looked at each other, instantly uncomfortable. What could we say? The truth felt like a bullet. We stammered out some garbage about teaching him how the real world works, that he'd thank us later. He yelled at us, called us bad parents, pathetic, selfish. And then, silence. He stopped answering our calls. He refused to speak to anyone from our family. So we did the easy, cowardly thing. We paid the tuition and washed our hands of it. A year later, our daughter was born. She was unexpected, and we loved her instantly. She became our universe. All our time, all our affection, all our energy poured into her. And deep down, we convinced ourselves it was okay that Jack wasn't around. He had his life. We had ours. She deserved our undivided attention, and he was managing on his own. He never met her. He didn't even know she existed. We told ourselves the distance was a protective measure, but I was lying to myself every day. Relatives knew something was wrong. Why hasn't he visited? Doesn't he want to see his sister? We'd invent excuses. He prefers boarding school. He's busy. The crushing truth, that we abandoned him, ignored him, and stole his childhood, was too heavy to admit. The room that should have been his became our gaming room. The emotional space he deserved was filled with our avoidance and guilt. By the way, if you're still with me, make sure to hit subscribe. More unbelievable stories are coming. When Jack finally turned 18, we showed up to pick him up, foolishly expecting some kind of reunion, some hug, some acknowledgement of the years gone by. Instead, we were met with something we truly didn't expect: pure, unfiltered anger. The look in his eyes wasn't sadness or disappointment. It was hatred. A wall of resentment so thick we had spent his entire childhood building it. There were no smiles, no tears, just a chasm between us. My daughter has always known about him, though. She asks constantly for stories, for pictures, anything to feel connected to the brother she never knew. We kept making excuses. He's busy. He'll come around. But the truth is, the wall we built is now too high to climb. I started lying awake, wondering what kind of man he'd become, wondering if he hated us enough to never forgive us. And then the terrifying question: how do we let his sister meet him without ruining everything? A month later, the guilt was suffocating. We were desperate, so we decided to visit the school. We weren't going to confront Jack. We just wanted to piece together who he was. We asked for his files, and that's when the first wave of shock hit. His records were incomplete. Chunks of his life were missing, hard copies, digital notes, all gone. I pressed one of his teachers, who was reluctant to talk. She admitted he was a good, smart, quiet kid, but her eyes kept darting away. I pushed harder, asking for the dean, trying to find anyone who could tell me more. Her face went pale. The dean was dead. Someone had killed him at the school not long ago. We were absolutely stunned. Why hadn't we been informed? She told us calmly that a notice had been sent, but we had ignored it. I checked my email right there. It was true. The message had been sitting unopened for months. A punch to the gut. No wonder Jack hated us. She whispered that the matter was under investigation, but then, chillingly, she said, "You should talk to your son about it." The fear that ran down my spine was unlike anything I'd ever felt. We understood, in that agonizing moment, that Jack had suffered alone. We had abandoned him, and we weren't there when he needed us most. A couple of weeks later, after trying and failing to reach Jack, I called the family of the friend he was staying with. The woman who picked up didn't hold back. From the first word, she spat venom, calling us monsters for leaving a boy alone for so many years, a boy who had suffered tremendously because he had no one. She accused us of disposing of our son, of handing him off because we were useless parents. I tried to explain, to defend, but she cut me off, her voice laced with pure contempt. Then she dropped the bomb. Something about the girl Jack loved. "Are you kidding me? You useless piece of trash. You deserve every bit of karma coming your way," she spat, telling us to check the news before abruptly hanging up. My wife and I stared at each other, tears streaming down her face. We had abandoned him. We checked the news, and the horror left us paralyzed. The dean and another teacher had been abducting people, committing vile acts. The last person they took was a 17-year-old girl named Hazel, who lived near the school. Jack had searched for her tirelessly. He found her, and he fought them himself. He was the hero. He had faced monsters we didn't even know existed. Hazel didn't survive, but the world saw Jack as a hero. That boy, the one we ignored and dismissed, had been the hero in a story we had no part of. We were left trembling, finally realizing the depth of the life he endured and the strength he forged without us. Our extended family exploded. They demanded to know the truth. Our cousin, who had adored Jack, called us, trembling with fury. She demanded to know where the money meant for him had gone. I stammered, but she cut me off. "Liar. I'll have my lawyer look at everything." The truth was worse than I feared. The money our relatives sent for Jack never reached him. It was spent on our daughter, on the furniture, on the gaming room we stole from him. The floodgates opened. Our cousin posted a video online, exposing our abandonment, detailing how Jack had to live in the dorms alone until she took him in. She talked about Hazel, the girl he loved, who died in his arms, and how he blamed himself for not searching harder. The weight of our actions crashed over us. The world knew the truth. We had to see him. We went to the house where he was staying, each step dragging years of neglect behind us. Jack finally agreed to meet us, but the tension was unbearable. I tried to apologize, to explain about the structure, the discipline, my daughter's need for stability. I told him his room was restored. The money would finally be given to him. "Stop lying to me," he said, his voice cold as ice. He'd already pieced it all together. The money was spent. The room was still the gaming room. We were panicking, trying to control a story that was already out. He told us he could never forgive us. He spoke of Hazel, the only hope he had, taken and murdered while we were absent. He said we had stolen his childhood. Then, a terrifying, chaotic smile crossed his face. "The dean taught me that life was a sham, that humans are disposable. The people you value must be kept close, while others are discarded." He told us to leave. We tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. We walked away, hearts pounding, realizing nothing could be undone. We had seen the face of the son we abandoned, and the scars ran deeper than we could possibly imagine. The consequences have been relentless. Our relatives demanded the return of every penny they sent for Jack. We had to sell off every gaming console, every piece of furniture, everything in that stolen room to cover the debt. We emptied our savings. Child welfare services showed up at our door. They were harsh. They told us Jack, even at 18, could take us to court for abandonment and neglect. They wanted us to settle quietly to protect him from further public harm. They warned us that the basement where Hazel was found was a torture chamber, a trophy room of horrors dating back years. The medical examiner actually had to step out, unable to bear the sight of Hazel's suffering. They painted a horrifying picture. Jack emerging hours later, carrying the body of the woman he loved, his eyes hollow and distant. We were told clearly, settle quietly, make amends if possible, or the full, sickening truth will be dragged into the public sphere, and we will lose everything. Now, years later, our daughter is 14. She's bitter and angry at us for failing her brother. She rebels, calls us names, and screams that we should send her to boarding school too, claiming they would know how to handle her. She carries the guilt for the life we gave her with Jack's stolen money. Jack is at university, funded by the money that was rightfully his, and an inheritance his grandfather, who must have foreseen our betrayal, left for him specifically, with a punishment of a minimal share for us. He has refused to accept a single thing from us. To him, accepting anything would mean acknowledging us as parents, and he refuses to give us that recognition. And now, people are going missing in the city. The news is full of mutilations and fear. Every time our daughter leaves the house, our hearts pound with terror. The thought of the basement, of Hazel, of the monsters Jack faced haunts us. We know we are powerless to shield her. We failed Jack, and we are left trembling, fearing that history will repeat itself, and we won't be able to protect the only child we have left. We are living every day with the knowledge that we destroyed an innocent life and created a hero with a terrifying, cold logic. If you were Jack, having endured that childhood and faced that kind of horror alone, would you ever be able to forgive your parents? Tell me what you think, I really want to know.